Hello and welcome back to another edition of CJ and CJ from the Basement. I'm CJ Massey, your host, alongside CJ Long.
On today's show, we'll be taking on the Atlanta Falcons, a team that had a pretty nice season last year. And CJ, tell our listeners a little bit more about it.
Well, if you're watching, you're probably an Atlanta Falcons fan. But this question is for non-Falcons fans. Question is, did you know the Atlanta Falcons made the playoffs last year? If you said no, I'm not surprised. The Atlanta Falcons finished up with a 10-6 record, squeaking in with a wild card spot, which sounds fine. 10-6 sounds good. However, when you look at the teams that they played on their way to the playoffs, that's where the questions arise. The Falcons only beat 2 teams the entire year with winning records, and neither of those 2 teams made the playoffs. So there's a little gray area there. However, here we are once again back another year looking for the Atlanta Falcons to have another successful season. It seems like every year we sit here thinking the Falcons are going to be 1 or 2 in the division every single year, and I don't see a reason why not to believe that once again. So, question I leave you guys with is this the year that the Atlanta Falcons finally become Super Bowl contenders?
And back onto the thing about you talking about the stats that are hidden behind wins and losses. You said 10-6, and they had 6 losses, 4 of which came to playoff teams, and then of course they get booted out in the first round by the eventual Super Bowl champion New York Giants, 24-2.
It was not pretty.
And 4 of 6 losses coming to playoff teams, that basically shows where they are against their competition. The other 2 losses were to non-playoff teams, so right now they're basically at the bottom of the playoff pool of teams. When you go through and look at their stats in terms of offense and defense, they were 10th overall in offense on the season, in large part to the spectacular play of Roddy White and Julio Jones. Jones coming in as a rookie, 24th best in the NFL in terms of receiving. Roddy White, 8th best. So definitely a strong receiving core anchored by the veteran tight end Tony Gonzalez. Michael Turner had another great season. However, he is getting up there in age. The offensive line, 6th ranked overall on the year, and continuing to get better in the offseason through the draft with the addition of Peter Kahns out of Wisconsin, as well as Lamar Holmes, a tackle from Southern Miss. So definitely improving on the offensive side of the ball. The question comes in on the defensive side of the ball. Overall, 12th best in the NFL. However, when you look at their pass defense, they were right there in the 20s. One positive for Falcons fans, as well as any other viewers, is they did a nice job trying to shore up that gap in their pass defense in the offseason, picking up Asante Samuel. And I'll tell you, CJ, Samuel really looks to help anchor the secondary.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The Eagles wanted to dump off the big contract, and the Falcons I feel they really got a great deal on him. They restructured the deal, and it's made Samuel a lot more affordable in his new Hotlanta home.
Yeah, really and truly, that's basically what it is. Samuel coming over from the Eagles, and now hopefully going to be able to hold it down for the Falcons. Maybe he'll pick off a few and have them doing the dirty bird in the end zone. 10-6, like we said last year, 9th easiest schedule this year. So the question, as CJ said, is this the year that Atlanta finally can break through? We'll try to answer some of those questions as I can feel the heat from the seat from a few miles away. We're about to head to the hot seat as Massey's main points are coming up next.
Hello and welcome back to CJ and CJ from the Basement. I'm your host CJ Massey, alongside with me NFL analyst CJ Long. It's time for a little Massey's main points, and we're going to begin with the first main point to be asked is, how big is the Asante Samuel signing going to be?
Well, CJ, there's no question Samuel's going to have an impact on this pass defense, ranked 20th in the NFL last year. But the question really begs, how much? his last season with Philadelphia, his numbers were really down based on his career averages, and that could be attributed to his age. He's 31, so definitely getting up there in terms of cornerbacks. The last person I can recall that really does it that well for a long time is Rondé Barber. So at 31 last year, Samuel goes out there. He makes 30 tackles, 3 picks, and 10 pass deflections in 14 games played. Over his career, he's had years where he has 10 picks, 9 picks, 7 picks. In fact, in 2010, the year before last season, he only played in 11 games and still had 7 interceptions and 13 pass deflections, which is an increase from his previous season's output of, like I said, 3 interceptions and 10 pass deflections. So definitely a decrease. However, his veteran presence on the field is sure to help Atlanta in their pass defense, and it's needed in a division where you've got the likes of Cam Newton and Drew Brees.
Oh, and there's no doubt about that. One thing to keep in mind of a possible reason why the numbers might have been down, and there's been a lot of debate around the league about why his numbers were down. I think all the fingers point towards the fact that teams stayed away from him. The opponents typically did not throw the ball his way, therefore the numbers did not come from him. And he mainly played as a decoy. Keep the ball away from him. That's what teams did, and that's why his numbers were lower. That leads us right into our next question. Really, it's all about the Falcons' offense. Every single year, we expect Matt Ryan to lead the Falcons deep. They always have power. They've got the strong running game, strong wide receivers, and improving offensive line. What's the offensive line gonna be like this year? And what can we expect from the Atlanta Falcons offense?
Well, last season the offensive line was ranked 6th overall, and really did an overall pretty good job. Only 26 sacks allowed on the season. Very impressive. As we saw yesterday, the Arizona Cardinals, on the other hand, allowed over 50 sacks. So definitely a pretty big contrast in offensive lines. But, with the aging Michael Turner in the backfield, the Falcons did a really nice job trying to shore up some holes in their offensive line with the drafting of Peter Kuntz from Wisconsin, as well as Lamar Holmes from Southern Miss. Kuntz is center, and he's really a big-time 6'5", 315-pound lineman. For those of y'all who don't remember, keep in mind he blocked for Monty Ball on his quest towards setting the single-season touchdown record in NCAA D1. So definitely has some history behind him, and he's not going to be a starting center right away. The Falcons have made that clear. Todd McClure has that job pretty well sealed up, but they have him right now slated to start at right guard. And CJ, as I mentioned to you off the air earlier, balance is going to be a real key for the Falcons this year in terms of their run game. Of 53 carries that went for 10 or more yards, only 9 of them went up in between the guards. So when you have 44 of your rushes coming outside around the edges, 44 of your big rushes, and only 9 up the middle, heck, Kuntz is going to do a really nice job helping to bolt down and really get the running game going even better than it already is.
Yeah, and you brought up a great point about him blocking in college. It's proven. His number one running back went wild, and the Falcons faithful are hoping that he can do the same. Although the running back is aging there in Turner, they're still looking for the same production as they would expect out of a 23-year-old with this fresh offensive lineman coming in and hoping to make an impact right away. And that's also we're gonna stay on the offense topic now for the third and final question. What is this the year that they put it all together once and for all?
I really think that this is like we said. They haven't really made any big off-season acquisitions in terms of offensive firepower, but do they really need to? You've already got Julio Jones and Roddy White, as we stated earlier. 8th overall in receiving is Roddy White, and 24th for Julio Jones. So they've already got the threat there. They've got Michael Turner in the backfield. Really, they're just looking to piece it all together. And with Julio Jones coming into his second year, he's not going to do anything but get better. And, CJ, really, I think, in a division where they're kind of overshadowed by the offense that Drew Brees runs with the Saints, I think that with Jones coming into his second year, Roddy White's going to have his typical Pro Bowl-type season. And I think they're really going to bust through and have the offensive season that everyone expects them to.
Well, there you guys have it. You've heard it from CJ Long himself, and that's it for Massey's main points today.
Bud Light presents Real Men of Genius.
Real men of genius.
Today we salute you, Mr. 80 SPF sunblock wearer.
Mr. 80 SPF sunblock wearer.
There are 24 hours in a day. You're wearing 80-hour protection. If the sun fails to go down, you'll be ready.
Don't forget the moonlight.
Your coconut-scented force field blocks out all the sun's rays and any stray rays from another sun in another galaxy.
Your star.
30 SPF, please. You might as well be wearing cooking oil.
Something smells delicious.
So crack open an ice-cold Bud Light, Mr. 80 SPF sunblock wearer. In fact, feel free to crack one open at high noon in the middle of the Sahara Desert.
Mr. 80 SPF sunblock wearer.
Bud Light Beer, Anheuser-Busch, Cartersville, Georgia.
Welcome back, everybody, to CJ and CJ from the basement as we get ready to make our Bud Light bold predictions today for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to start off the predictions, and my first one is going to be a pretty bold statement. Some of you might not call it that, but I really have a belief that Roddy White is going to make the Pro Bowl this year. He's just been outstanding. Probably you can argue one of the most consistent receivers over the past couple years. 8 touchdowns this past season with 100 receptions. I think he's going to have an equal amount of receptions and maybe add to the touchdowns numbers a little bit. I'd say 11 or 12.
I agree 100% with that. I think Roddy White is going to have another great year. Definitely expect a good year from Roddy White. My bold prediction, like usual, I'm going out on a limb, taking a chance here, but I am actually going to say that Asante Samuel is going to be a wonderful deal for the Atlanta Falcons, and I think that he's going to return to Pro Bowl form, although he might be 31 and already 10 years of experience. I think that with Dante Robinson over there on the other side, I think they're going to have to choose one or the other. Who are you going to go with? I think they're actually going to go aim. The opponents are going to aim after the older, aging Asante Samuel, and I think that with his defensive play and the offense, if they can continue on with how they've been in the past, defense plays strong with their additions over the offseason, I don't see any reason why they are not going to be another wild card, at least a wild card team.
You know what, and Siege, I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to say with their addition of Samuel, as well as the addition of Lofa Tatupu, to try to shore up the linebacker position to go along with John Abraham on the defensive side of the ball, along with the addition, as we said, Peter Kantz. I think Turner's going to have a nice year. White's going to have a nice year. And with the bounty scandal that we've seen in New Orleans, the coach is going to be gone. A distraction right now with Drew Brees and his contract, even though we know he'll be back on the field for Week 1. I think the Falcons are going to win the division this year, and I wouldn't even go past saying first round bye. However, Falcons fans, I know that isn't what y'all want to hear. Y'all want the Super Bowl, as I'm sure a lot more people do. That's about all we got for you today. Thanks for joining us on CJ and CJ from the Basement. Join us next time as we go over the Baltimore Ravens.